Dawn breaks over border state farmland, September 17, 1862. Mist clings to cornfields that will soon witness the nation's bloodiest single day. 23,000 casualties await in 12 hours. Brothers preparing to kill brothers, unaware destiny approaches with first light. A photographer will capture mortality's aftermath, but no lens can freeze the screams, the prayers, the final gasps of 22,800 men falling on these fields. This is the day the Republic discovered the true cost of preserving democracy through warfare. Picture your hometown's entire population. Now imagine them all slain or wounded in 12 hours of fighting. This is Antietam. This is the morning when the nation's soul was weighed in the balance and paid for with unprecedented carnage and sacrifice. Southern General Robert Edward Lee gambles everything on border state soil. His forces, outnumbered 2-1, face overwhelming numbers commanded by the cautious George McClellan. The fate of two nations hangs on decisions made in farmhouse headquarters before sunrise breaks. In tobacco barns turned makeshift hospitals, Clara Barton tears her dress into bandages with steady hands. She doesn't know she's pioneering battlefield medicine tonight, only that dying boys need her unwavering compassion and medical skills to survive until morning comes. A federal soldier discovers Lee's complete battle plans wrapped around 3 cigars left at a campsite. This intelligence gift from Providence could end the war today. But will McClellan act decisively on this incredible opportunity, or hesitate again as usual? Rebel Private Henry Parker writes his final letter home with trembling hands. "Mother, if you never see me again, remember I died fighting for what I believed was right." He seals it carefully, knowing mortality waits across the fields. The Antietam Creek flows peaceful and crystal clear at sunrise this morning. By sunset tonight, it will run crimson with the Republic's gore, earning the haunting name Bloody Lane that will echo through local memory forever. You are about to witness the nation's first glimpse of war's true face through Alexander Gardner's revolutionary photography. Mortality will be captured forever in silver and light, ending romantic notions of glorious warfare that once captivated popular imagination. Somewhere between Sharpsburg and the Creek, the country's future trembles on history's knife edge. Lincoln desperately needs victory to announce emancipation. Lee needs victory to secure European recognition. Everything depends on today's 12 hours of unprecedented national carnage. At 5:30 in the morning, Hooker's First Corps advances through the Miller Cornfield. Southern infantry waits hidden among stalks taller than men. The first massive volleys shatter morning silence like thunder, announcing Judgment Day for democratic principles. The Miller Cornfield stands 40 acres wide, each stalk representing hopes about to be harvested by rifle fire. Private David Thompson later wrote, "The corn was cut as closely as could have been done with a scythe blade." Rebel Brigadier General John Bell Hood's battle-hardened Texans counterattack through the corn with savage fury. These men, veterans of Gaines's Mill and Second Bull Run, have never witnessed slaughter approaching this morning's unprecedented harvest of national gore and broken bones. Can you comprehend the mathematics of mortality? In this cornfield alone, over 2,000 men will fall in 30 minutes of fighting. Each kernel of corn becomes a metaphor for democracy's price, paid in full by boys barely old enough to vote. Federal Colonel Christian Gus falls with a Southern bullet piercing his heart completely. His men continue advancing over his bleeding body, stepping on their commander's crimson to reach enemy lines. Leadership dies with dignity, while democracy advances over corpses. The simple white Dunker Church stands as silent witness while men tear each other apart in God's holy name. Its bell tower counts not peaceful hours today, but lives lost in freedom's most expensive cause. Religion watches warfare destroy Christian brotherhood. The Southern commander watches from his command post, calculating impossible odds with mathematical precision. Each rebel casualty represents irreplaceable manpower forever lost. Each federal death merely delays the inevitable numerical advantage, slowly grinding his forces into border state dust. Private William McKinley, the nation's future president, delivers steaming hot coffee to Ohio troops under deadly enemy fire. At 19 years old, he doesn't know he's witnessing democracy's bloodiest test of survival while serving refreshments to dying infantry. The sunken road, carved by decades of wagon wheels and weather erosion, becomes Southern defensive positions. Soon it will earn a new name written in crimson, Bloody Lane. Geography remembers what living men struggle to forget. Picture this philosophical question: does the ground remember the gore that soaks it? Federal General Daniel Richardson's division advances on Sunken Road, while rebel rifles rise above earthen walls like deadly flowers blooming from local soil, waiting patiently. Captain Oliver Wendell Holmes, Jr., the Republic's future Supreme Court Justice, falls wounded by Southern fire. The bullet that strikes him carries the Constitution's future interpretation. Democracy's legal framework hangs by a military surgeon's thread tonight in makeshift field hospitals. In the Sunken Road, rebel bodies pile 3 deep like cordwood for winter fires. Federal Private George Whitman, Walt's brother, stares into lifeless eyes and sees the nation's fractured soul reflected in pupils that will never again witness sunrise. Cold military fact: Southern General Daniel Harvey Hill realizes his defensive position has been fatally flanked by superior federal numbers. "My God," he whispers, watching his Alabama regiment collapse. The road becomes a mass grave for independence dreams. Federal troops capture the gore-soaked Sunken Road at terrible human cost. They stand triumphantly atop rebel corpses, literally walking over their enemies' fallen bodies to claim victory's scarlet-covered ground. Success demands stepping on failure's face. Photographer Alexander Gardner arrives at the corpse-filled Sunken Road with his bulky camera equipment. His revolutionary plates capture the Republic's first images of battlefield mortality's reality. The nation will never again romanticize warfare's supposed glorious fiction. Clara Barton works tirelessly in her makeshift hospital, her white dress completely soaked in strangers' crimson from multiple wounds. She doesn't count lives saved successfully, only precious lives that slip through her determined fingers like sand through an hourglass. At the stone Antietam Creek Bridge, Federal General Ambrose Burnside hesitates for 3 critical hours of daylight. His inexcusable delay allows Lee precious time to reinforce weakening Southern lines that hold rebel democracy together by threads. Southern sharpshooters transform the narrow stone bridge into a lethal killing field. Each federal infantry attempting to cross faces certain mortality from concealed positions. Courage becomes currency paid exclusively in gore, sweat, and final prayers. Private Robert Carter of the 22nd Massachusetts Regiment writes, "The bridge was narrow, and enemy fire swept it completely clean. We crossed over on our hands and knees like animals, praying for survival. Listen to this. General Burnside finally orders the desperate assault after wasting irreplaceable daylight hours. The 51st New York charges across Stone Bridge while their colonel falls mortally wounded halfway across. Leadership dies courageously with democratic ideals. Federal troops establish a precarious foothold across Antietam Creek's crimson waters. Burnside's criminal delay has cost hundreds of lives unnecessarily, but democracy's forces finally advance toward Sharpsburg and Lee's endangered headquarters. Rebel Private Johnny Whitten, only 16 years old, loads his musket with trembling adolescent hands. He joined the forces seeking glorious adventure stories. Instead, he witnesses childhood friends dying horribly in local mud while calling for their mothers. The Southern commander faces his war's darkest hour as McClellan's massive forces threaten to crush his weakened lines completely. Independence hangs by the slender thread of rebel courage and federal hesitation. History balances on exhausted infantry's shoulders. Then, like divine intervention from heaven above, General Ambrose Powell Hill's Southern Division arrives from captured Harper's Ferry. Their forced march through night saves Lee's forces from complete annihilation. History pivots on tired legs carrying heavy muskets. Hill's men, identified by distinctive red battle shirts, slam violently into Burnside's advancing federal troops. The Southern counterattack stops McClellan's final push toward victory, preserving Lee's crucial escape route back to Virginia. Retreat means survival. Dr. Jonathan Letterman, Federal Medical Director, organizes the Republic's first systematic battlefield evacuation system. His revolutionary ambulance corps saves thousands of precious lives while creating modern emergency medical protocols under constant enemy fire. Innovation blooms amid carnage. Rebel Private Sam Watkins later wrote these haunting words: "I have never seen so many fallen men and horses strewn over such a small piece of ground in my entire life experience." As evening approaches with lengthening shadows, both forces count their staggering losses. Lee has lost 1/4 of his invasion strength forever. McClellan has lost the golden opportunity to end this war today. Mathematics of failure. In farmhouses transformed into emergency hospitals, Federal and Southern wounded lie side by side on gore-covered floors. Physical pain recognizes no political boundaries tonight. Shared human suffering temporarily erases the ideological divisions tearing the Republic apart. General McClellan telegraphs Washington with trembling hands, "We have fought the bloodiest battle of the entire war today." He doesn't realize he's also fought the most decisive battle for Emancipation's future. Victory enables moral transformation. That night, Lee makes his most difficult command decision. Against all his generals' passionate advice, he orders immediate retreat to Virginia. The border state invasion dies with the day's last fading light. Dreams retreat with forces. Federal infantry sleep fitfully among Southern corpses in the darkness. Private Elisha Stockwell writes, "We lay down among the fallen and got what little sleep we could before morning brought fresh horrors." President Lincoln waits anxiously in Washington's telegraph office through the long night. Each delayed message could bring news of glorious victory or catastrophic defeat. The Republic's entire future hangs on local farmers' fields tonight. Southern General James Longstreet personally helps evacuate wounded men across the Potomac River. Each person carried to safety represents the South's rapidly dwindling hope for independence and desperately needed European recognition and military support. Federal burial details work through the entire night shift. They dig mass graves for citizens who died fighting fellow countrymen. Democracy's foundation requires these gore-soaked cornerstones of national reunification. Mortality builds nations. McClellan chooses not to pursue Lee's retreating forces across the river. His excessive caution preserves federal strength, but allows rebels to fight another day. Golden opportunity dies with Southern corpses in border state fields. 5 days later, President Lincoln issues the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation to the nation. Antietam's federal victory provides the political cover needed to transform war's purpose from simple reunion to freedom. Gore purchases moral authority. Alexander Gardner's revolutionary photographs reach Northern newspapers within days. Citizens see war's true face for the first time in history. The romantic notion of glorious battle dies in darkroom chemicals and silver. Reality replaces fantasy. In Southern hospitals, rebel wounded slowly realize their grand invasion failed completely. The dream of European recognition fades with infected wounds and missing limbs. Independence feels increasingly impossible. Hope dies with infection. Clara Barton continues her medical work, eventually founding the Red Cross organization. From Antietam's unprecedented carnage grows an organization dedicated to healing wounds that warfare creates. Compassion emerges from cruelty. The Dunker Church still stands today, its white walls serving as silent witnesses to democracy's bloodiest test. Modern tourists photograph the building, unaware they're capturing freedom's most expensive moment in the Republic's history. Private Henry Parker's final letter reaches his grieving mother 6 weeks later. She frames it beside his photograph, creating a permanent shrine to sacrifice that preserved the nation. Love transcends mortality through memory. McClellan's failure to pursue Lee costs him military command. Lincoln needs generals who fight decisively, not hesitate constantly. The war's leadership changes dramatically, but its terrible arithmetic remains constant. Mathematics governs warfare. European powers abandon plans to recognize Southern independence after Antietam. The battle proves federal forces can fight effectively against rebel strength. Diplomatic hopes die on local soil. International politics shift. Years later, veterans from both sides meet at Antietam reunions. Former enemies shake hands over graves they filled with bodies. Reconciliation grows from the ground, democracy watered with gore. Forgiveness heals wounds. The Miller Cornfield grows peacefully again each summer season. Modern tourists walk through quiet stalks, unable to imagine the harvest of mortality that once filled these 40 acres completely. Nature forgets humanity's wars. Antietam National Battlefield preserves the Republic's bloodiest day for future generations. School children tour the hallowed grounds, learning that freedom's price was paid in full by their ancestors' ultimate sacrifice. Education honors memory. In Arlington National Cemetery, white graves stretch endlessly toward the horizon. Each headstone represents Antietam's lesson. Democracy demands vigilance, sacrifice, and sometimes unthinkable loss. Mortality serves life's highest purpose. September 17, 1862, taught the nation that reunification required crimson payment. 23,000 casualties purchased Emancipation's moral authority and preserved constitutional government for posterity. Mathematics of freedom's cost. Today, Antietam Creek flows clear and peaceful again through local countryside. But history remembers when it ran scarlet with the Republic's gore, the day democracy proved itself worth dying for. Memory sanctifies sacrifice. Every generation faces its defining testing moment. Antietam remains ours, reminding us that freedom's preservation sometimes demands the ultimate sacrifice from ordinary people called to extraordinary courage. Heroes emerge from necessity.